Hello and welcome to SSBC interview. I'm right here in New York speaking to a young man called Keer Deng, who's a South Sudanese, came here many years ago. Keer has a very unique story to tell. Keer, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Chol. I really appreciate the introduction, and I want to thank you and for your visit, come all the way from Washington D.C. Also, I want to say welcome to America, and I'm happy that you want to record my voice to send it to our people back home in South Sudan to encourage them.
Thank you. My first encounter with your story was in 2018. I came across your story and I was very, very much touched by your story. And I thought I needed to come to the US and be able to meet you. Tell me briefly about that journey.
Well, so basically I was born in northern Barkazal and back in the 90s. And so as many of us knows that northern Barkazal is borders with North Sudan during the Civil War. So I was born in a wild town, and then when the war broke out, basically Maralin or militias, they came to our villages, they burned the houses down, and that what led to abduction of so many kids. And then my mother, actually she's the first person to be taken in our family. And basically we went to Darfur when I was young. I barely have any memories of that. It was an arduous journey, and for me, I became a slave where I didn't even know that I was being slave in my own country because I was young. But when I grew up, I asked what exactly is happening, like why I'm not in school and why we're being treated unfairly, you know. And so for me, after I believe in positivity. After all, when I knew South Sudan, it was back in 2005 when the peace agreement was signed, and then I become a young man who I was interested to know. And many of you knows that our South Sudanese parents are very strong people, and they always encourage us for us to go back to our mother homelands and to learn about our roots. So in 2005, I was able to listen to radio, and I know the peace agreement was signed, and so that's why I became interested to come back to South Sudan, but I did not have a way. Me and many other South Sudanese were helped by CSI, Christian International Solidarity. I will thank them, where they pay money to free us from slavery.
To free me
in Darfur. And so I came with many people. Some of us who were sick from malaria. Some people almost gave up where they actually want to go back to North Sudan. However, I was very determined when I came to Keer River. And so I said I don't want to return back to North Sudan, because at that time my hope is just to come back. So I made it, thankfully, to South Sudan in 2009.
Wow.
And then after that, I went to church, and God blessed me to be able to play drums.
Wow.
In the church, and I was able actually to sing. And at that time, I just felt the warmness of and how the difference that what South Sudan actually is.
Your story is quite amazing. Having been enslaved in your own country when it used to be the Sudan, and later on you were freed by the CSI after they paid the people who I would call your masters to free you. You wouldn't come back to South Sudan, but you didn't know where you would stay. Mm-hmm. Having lost your mother who had gone missing until today, and according to the story that I read, do you think like your hope was as a result of going to church and then started to play drums?
I mean, I had a hope, but the only thing that was available for me was church. And I really created a lot of churches back in South Sudan, because they encouraged me to be somebody, just not an orphan. And when I go there, they gave me opportunity where actually it's sort of like a therapy here in this country, in the US. we go for a therapy, but I think the church back home is the best therapy, and they taught me so that way I'm not able to drink and I'm not able to do other things that are not good for somebody who is a blind person and doesn't have parents. So yes, they really brought me to hope and they encouraged me a lot.
Tell me about your transition from being a very active player in the church to coming to the U.S. How has it been?
Well, it's been a pleasure and a life-changing, and I really think that life is something that we have to appreciate, and I do not make it here because of just only me, but I really want to thank a lot of people, such as people who brought me to this country. I want to thank Alan Ratner and also my pastor, anybody who made a contribution in my life. I really appreciate them. And so changing from nothing to something is something that really made me feel like right now I'm a voice, which actually I'm a disability rights activist. And the reason is that I feel from the beginning I advocate for myself, where I have self-determination to not give up and to not think something that negative and to not be just in one place. I used to travel. I make sure I make connections with different people, and so now my life is completely different from my past, and I hope other people who are struggling back home in South Sudan and the rest of the world can actually learn a little bit from me.
Now, do you forgive your masters who enslaved you? What if you met them today? What would you do? What would you tell them?
Well, as somebody who succeed and survived, I believe I survived for a purpose, and the purpose is that it's not to be bitter about what person did to me in the past. If I met him today, I would say I forgive you, but why would you do this? Because the reason my slave master blind me is that I lost a goat. You know, I take care of goats, and one day when I went out, one of the goats got lost, and when I came home, I did not know what to tell him, so he got mad, and he beat me, where he put hot pepper and shit in my eyes, and that caused an eye infection. So for me, somebody who believes in Jesus Christ, and somebody who believes in forgiveness, I learned from the Bible, forgive your enemies, and I believe the fact that I forgive him already. That's why today I'm in the United States going to school, and I believe, you know, I am more better. I understand what is going on more than him. I will never do something like that to a person.
I know you grew up partly in Darfur. Am I right?
Yes, basically I was taken, I believe, 1992 to 2009. So 2009, that's when I came back to South Sudan. So I know Darfur very well. Darfur is like my second home.
Can you a little bit explain to South Sudanese how your master blinded you? Maybe a little bit in Arabic, because of course when you say chili or pepper, of course people who speak English would understand, but a little bit in Arabic, like how you lost a goat, and when you return home your master got mad and, you know, decided to punish you by spraying your eyes with pepper. Could you a little bit capture it in Arabic?
Okay. المهم يعني شكرا. أنا الحاجة أنا قاعد نقول بالعربي يعني أنا زول معذور وأنا كان أشوف زمان صغير وزمن الخرف في السودان، يعني كان شالوني في لدارفور وزول شالانا يعني خط الشتى في يوني. يا أول ليلة ده أنا ما قاعد نشوف أي حاجة، ما قاعد نشوف ناس، ما قاعد نشوف أكل بتاعي، وده يا أول الأصل أنا من يوم الليلة أخواني ما عندي أخواني، ما عندي أبوي وما عندي أمي، يعني ده حاجة بطل لأسرة بتاعي ولأنا كمان، لأنه ما صح اللي أنتم بعرفين. أنا متأكد وأنا بعرف كويس في ناس كتير هناك في السودان، في ساوث سودان، ومن ما عنده أبوه وما عنده أخوان. الحاجة ده نقول لكم يعني الحاجة نمبر واحد يكون الحب، ما تكون زول يعني ما عنده hope. أنا داير كل زول قاعد هناك life بتاعك بطال يعني ممكن تكون عندك الهوب. ده حاجة داير نقول عربي بسيط لأنه أنا نسيت عربي لأنه طولت.
I know you. Yeah, it's been quite a long time.
It's been almost 8 long time.
You've not been in contact with people who speak Arabic, and I assume you must forget. Of course, there's certain words in Arabic.
Yes.
But I still throw it back to you. Try to explain, like the day you lost a goat. Like what was the situation? Why would your master, just because you lost one goat, punish you by spraying? But when was the day, and how did that happen until the day you lost your sight? Just a little bit for our viewers to also try to pick up in Arabic. I throw it back to you.
Okay, thank you. So basically, human, we believe that what would do sometime for people do something for a purpose, and our people, we have depression and hatred, and when a human being taught to hate, hate is very bad and it's something that can do a lot of damages. Hate and love are opposite, but for me, the way actually what happened is that I remember it very well. It was like in the morning I went out with goats and I came back home, and he asked me where's my white goat, and I said, look, I don't know where it is, but I'm sorry, I'm going to search for it. I went out for a few minutes and I came back home. That day he really had a bad day. I think Zachariah, his name is Zachariah, he had a bad day where he got mad. Everybody was beaten because it's not only me, and actually I was the last person. When I came home, my mom was crying and I did not know why, which is actually so sad. When you come home, you see your grown up crying and you ask them, Mama, what is going on? And they're not able to explain. I don't know if she was, whatever happened to her even this day, I don't know. So the same day that he beat me at night, I believe, I did not have time at that time, but I believe it was around 5 at the time that the goats come back home.
5 p.m.
5 p.m. And he called me to his place, because I live in the farm where it's gated, and so I was looking for my mom. So when he beat me, it's sort of it's a punishment. And since that night I haven't seen my mom even this day, and I didn't go blind right away, but I become struggling and there's no hospital. And one thing I want to say is this is not just because of it's not the fact that he blind me. I believe it's not just a race because I'm black or so. As one thing I want to tell also, people use religion as a tool to pursue their mission in order to stay in power, because now I learned Sudan is one country and we are all the same. There's no different things. But that day I haven't seen people I used to know.
I understand.
And then it took a while, actually. I got eye infection where my eyes were itchy. But what I want to say is this: the reason I was mentioning that, a guy came home, his name is Bakhir, he's an Arab man. He saved me basically. When he saw me, my face was bleeding. He took me to his house, and he took care of me very well. And that's actually something that I see him as my hero, just like my other friends who helped me to come this far. So if it wasn't him, I would not know if he would kill me or not. So he took me to his place, and it's a Muslim. So that's something really amazing that he did.
Away from your story, which I still feel very strong, is a strong story to tell. Since you came into the United States, I understand that you've spoken in very high-profile forums, talking about the slavery then and the plight of the people currently who are still maybe being enslaved or who are facing torture and punishment in different places around the world, I assume. Tell me, what is your mission with regards to South Sudan now having been an independent country?
Well, what I want to say is this, because the independence of South Sudan, a lot of people feel like, I see that, you know, whatever struggle that our people are facing now, I feel a lot of people are forgetting and they're questioning God that who helped us, South Sudan, to become an independent question. What is the reason South Sudan now is an independent country? What's the difference between South Sudan and the time that we live as one country? So what I think is this, for me, South Sudan, if it wasn't the independent, you know, I would not be here, because we were controlled, and when somebody control you, it doesn't matter how much you have, you know, because you're still under their power.
It's true.
So what I want to say is that we don't want to lose hope, because South Sudan will remain there for us, and we all want people. My hope is this: I want to build a school for disabled people in South Sudan. And for me, when I came here, I'm not just coming to sleep, I'm coming here and to take the good stuff back home. And what I want is to educate myself first, and I'm thankful that actually I'm in school where I'm able to read in Braille with my hands. I know Sudan, I read a lot of books. One example of book is called The River Wars by Winston Churchill. And the way the Westerners used to describe us, you know, is different than now, because we are blessed and we know more than what we used to be. So my dream is to build a school for disabled, because I believe when I was in South Sudan, as I know from my experience, I did not have anything. There's no games for me to play. I did not have a lot of friends. I was alone, you know. And to me, I believe I came here to be the voice for the people who are voiceless, that they don't know their rights. And so that's what I stand for, and that's what I advocate for, and that's what I believe I want to do. And I thanks to people who, my American friends and people all over the world who are supporting me to make it possible. And I'm actually glad. My message to people who have disability, disabled, back home, is to have hope. And also, if they have opportunity, they can go to school just to listen. Because education opens our minds. Because when you learn that you're not the only person who's struggling, it really is the best therapy, you know, it's the best thing to have.
Let's talk a little bit about your international engagements. Like you've been meeting high-profile figures in the world. Like you met President Obama before he was still at the White House. You met other entertainment figures in the U.S. Looking back at your past, you know, in captivity, let me put it that way, and then now here you are today.
Yo, man.
Here you are today. Tell us how do you feel about life changing, meeting different people in the world?
Well, you know, meeting a president is not an easy thing.
Yeah.
And I want to say that never feel like when you have a dream, don't feel like that just a dream is not going to die. So I met President Obama in 2000. I came here in 2011, where I had corneal transplant, and I testified at the U.S. Congress. And what I testified for is for what our people are facing, and the people who were enslaved in the past. We don't talk about them anymore. And so I met President Obama in 2013, I believe. I forgot, but I think it's 2013. And Ellen Radner, she's a journalist, and she's I call her Mama Chicken. She's a woman who's my hero, who brought me to this country. She works at the White House as a journalist and also a talk radio news. So she, you know, they had a party, sort of like a Christmas party. They invite me, and for the first time, I went to the White House. I had the best food.
Wow.
And the most inspirational thing what I want to tell, never feel like you're nobody. You know, the First Lady Michelle Obama said, "Keer, it is such a pleasure to meet you." I was shocked, you know. How would you know how would she say that? I wish I knew English. I would have told her, if you say this, what will I say? You know. And they just are passionate people. What President Obama told me is this: he said, "Study hard," and that to me you know, it's something more than 1 million because somebody's telling you to study hard. Basically, it's telling me if I get an education, I will understand more, you know, and I will know what we face as a human in this world. So I met a lot of people. I met Stevie Wonder, Jay-Z, you know, Bruce Radner, my uncle, you know. I appreciate him too for his support and everything. I went to a game, it was a basketball game in Brooklyn. I'm not sure, a few of you probably know Brooklyn back home. And, you know, we went to a basketball and I heard Jay-Z rooting like, yo, Brooklyn! You know, and so I said, I want to meet Jay-Z, and, you know, he went and introduced me, and very nice people. And so for me, the people I met, and the people I'm in contact with, and the people I know, I never thought, you know, like
You would meet them.
I never thought of it. So there's a saying, and a high expectation can lead to disappointment. So sometimes it's not good to expect a lot. Like don't expect too much, just be soft to yourself and be gentle to yourself, be kind to yourself. Be honest with yourself and be humble to yourself too, you know, and things will happen because the world is this very small world, you know.
Keer, if I can remember, you took us around the other day during my first meeting with you, and we accessed the UN, you know, such a very respected institution in the world, and you have access there, and you have access almost to other places. Your standing in the country as a South Sudanese is quite phenomenal. How can you use your position, your image, your voice right now to inspire South Sudanese who are also struggling and who look up to you, who look up to other people, you know, who have made it in life?
Well, Chol, for me to be here in New York City or just in the US is life-changing, and it's something that I never dream of. You know, I've been involved with the UN almost 3 years so far. I've been advocating for disability rights, not just in South Sudan, but nationally. And for me, a few weeks or a few months ago, I was standing at the UN with my card, trying to enter to the UN. And I thought of it, you know, at the time when we used to stand back, you know, in a huge line to wait to get food from the UN.
I know.
And now I'm right there, you know, trying to get into sharing the knowledge that I learned and the voice that I want to pass to the world, to 7.5 billion people around the world. You know, that for me was like, wow, you know, look at me now. I'm standing here waiting to go to give a speech rather than me actually be giving food right at the UNICEF. So what I want to say to South Sudanese who are in UN camps all over the South Sudan, you're just there for now, but in the future you will not know where you will be. Probably will be the Secretary General of the UN or so. That is something that I really want to share with people because it just show me life is temporary and life is a gift. And life bring a lot of stuff.
Do you in your comfort zone sometimes sit back and be like, wow, I'm somewhere? Do you do that? Do you?
Yeah.
You
Of course, I'm like, wait, this is me? I feel like I'm another person.
Oh yeah.
But then when I think about it, then I said, oh, of course it's me. Look at me. Where I used to stay, I don't have a place to sleep. Where I do not have any clothes to wear right now. You know, I'm wearing nice clothes and nice shoes.
Oh yeah.
So this is like, it's a miracle.
I know.
But it's not just only that. It's, I'm a somebody that will be able to take care of myself, take care of family, which I never thought of. But when I used to cry, how would I survive? You know, I was in survival. Where I used to sleep with nothing, basically. You know, so for me, I can relate, or I've been there. I can say that I've been through what other people are facing, and of course, I'm not the only person who had a difficult life. But the hard thing in life is when you are disabled, when you're blind. You have no father, you have no mother, you have no sister, and you have no brother. That's the hard thing, by the way. It's very hard, you know, and I went through that, and I still go to that sometimes. But nowadays, I feel, you know, not so bad anymore because I learned a lot of things.
Do you feel like you have a responsibility in the country to support, encourage, and inspire South Sudanese, young South Sudanese who are struggling in life? Do you see your responsibility there?
Well, of course I do. So for me today, if I come to South Sudan, I'm not just going to be sitting at home or playing something. I will go to school and I will teach them Braille, especially people who have disability. I will teach them Braille, I will teach them English, math, science. The little knowledge that I gain from this country, the opportunity that I have, it's not just going to be here. I'm not going to remain with it in this country. I will take it back home. So I really encourage a lot of people to stay strong. And I also encourage my other South Sudanese who are knowledgeable and have an access to anything, who had an access to education. You know, if you know somebody who is blind and deaf, please help them also to take them to school, because a lot of people have been taken to school. I never heard a blind person or a disabled person being taken to school, and that's something that I hope my South Sudanese can learn from me, so that way they can take them to schools, you know.
Do you allow the general public, the South Sudanese general public, to own your story, to use your story to derive determination? Do you allow your story to be used so that other people can succeed in life?
Yes, Joel, because my story is our story, and it's the story of a child back into in Equatoria, in Upper Nile, in Abyei, in also in Barakazal. My story is for other people, because South Sudan, remember, we have a lot of people there. We have a lot of disabled, and we've been in war for a long time. So I think it's time for us to not forget other people who are vulnerable, because when somebody who's disabled cry, God hears them, you know. When somebody who's like me crying, sitting there with nothing, you know, the only thing I hope they have is like the older brother. But if we're neglecting them, how we're gonna be blessed, you know? So my story can be used, my story can be an example for them, you know, for them.
Let's talk a little bit about our national unity, our national identity as South Sudanese.
Mm-hmm.
Is it something you support a lot? Do you support our unity as South Sudanese? Do you support regionalism? Where like we are Bargazal, we are Equatoria? Which way? Do you support our unity very much?
Of course, unity is something that very powerful, and we've seen a lot of the people who actually know history. We see it during Anyanyai 1 and Anyanyai 2, and also in 2011, and also 2005. We win all of those big struggle because we were united, you know. And I believe unity is something that extremely important, because when we are united, there's nothing can face us. They say we are strong in numbers. You know, the numbers can make difference. So for me, South Sudan, we need unity. We need to be one people, as what people say. We are one people, and I believe we are one people. I don't see any difference. Especially somebody like me, I don't understand what is going on. Like, why would we not be united when such a huge thing that not a lot of countries in Africa have done it? We are the only nation that actually faced them. We win, you know.
My last question to you, Keer, is who do you look up to in the country and admire? Be like, wow, this gentleman or this young woman has just inspired me. He or she is doing great things. Who would you say you admire and you want to be like them?
Well, I admire the population of South Sudan.
Wow.
The reason I admire them is because they're very strong people. We struggle, and we've seen a lot of stuff. We came through long life. As somebody with PhD, master degree, I believe we all are doctors of life, you know, because I feel South Sudan is a very strong country. I admire all women of South Sudan, the younger one and the elderlies, and also our brothers, because what we done and what we went through is something that amazing. And I believe I see myself, or I see the people, everyone as a hero, because I'm happy that South Sudan is an independent nation to call, you know, and I feel just proud of everyone for their work and for their hard work, you know.
Your last message to South Sudanese, your advice to them. I give you 1 minute to summarize that.
So my last word is this to South Sudanese. Life, you are a captain, and when you are a captain, it's not everything smooth. Life is a journey. It's like a wheelbarrow. When you have a wheelbarrow, it's not smooth. There's something that will happen to you. You will become a somebody right away, and you don't know what will happen to you, but what can remain with you is knowledge, is your knowledge. And never lose hope. Hope is like an oxygen of life, and it's like a nutrient. So what I want to say, be strong and be focused, and don't get distracted. Don't do things that are not necessarily because of where you are. Don't hate your brother, don't hate your sister because of misunderstanding. You know, I want our people to have social communication, you know, where we talk. Where I will say, Chol, this is my issue, please, I want to talk to you. Where we solve our issues in a peaceful manner, in using our friendhood and our motherhood and our countryhood.
Thank you so much.
That's what I want to say.
Thank you so much, Keer.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for meeting me. Thank you for coming on the set to speak to us about your story. Your story is such an inspiring story. And just like you say, South Sudanese will share from your story.
Yes.
And they can use it to derive determination and to build a future. Thank you so much for that.
Appreciate it.
And finally, we've come to the end of our interview right here in Manhattan, New York. My name is Chol Duang, and that was Keer Deng, a young South Sudanese who is here in New York doing great things for his country. Keer wants to build a school in South Sudan. I don't know where, but he is determined to build a school in South Sudan for people with disability. And Keer is also an activist for education. Keer supports education in South Sudan. And that's it from now. My name is Chol Duang. Bye-bye from now. See you next time.
Thank you. Good job.